Um, I immediately feel like this is too preemptive to just make another video immediately after the first. But there's such a sense of excitement about it. But it kind of bleeds into that wanting it to be a certain way thing. And I think it's important that I try to move through it and just do it anyway, no matter what it looks like. It almost feels like it's not a choice that I keep to myself so much. It's something I've grown accustomed to and comfortable with. I'm a man of comfort. I cling to it like no one's business. It never made sense to me to go and pay my own set of bills and leave my family, because I always thought that I would live with them. I never desired to do the traditional, conventional route where everyone has their own family, and I thought that would come naturally if it was going to after getting a career, but it was never like something I was never pushed out, and there was pressure from society, of course, and that was hard to deal with, and a lot of shame and guilt for staying at home. But it always, in the back of my mind, made no sense to pay rent for exactly the same situation, except like you can't bring women to this situation, basically. And that was the only trade-off, was like relationships. And when I was detached from all my friends growing up and put into the countryside, because I was too afraid to just go alone at that point, I had to I took up like Eastern philosophy and kind of became a monk in a way, and focused on school. And it isolated me to a point where I became very comfortable without people. And the more I got comfortable with that, the less comfortable I became with other people's company. And I actually feel like it's less about extroversion and introversion. I think it's more people who aren't comfortable with isolation and loneliness, and they haven't leaned into that feeling and sat with it long enough to actually realize that they can endure it and that they can discover the landscape of their own mind and discover who you are when nobody's watching, and also become your own everything. Be so whole in yourself that you never need anyone to even call or get phone calls or messages from. And every time I step into a social interaction now, it's alien, it's completely alien, and I would argue that because of the alien nature of it, that it's much more fun and exciting and anxiety inducing than if you're with people all the time, because you're just kind of used to them. Which I think there's something in that as well, because you're brought up by the people who you surround yourself with. Everyone you get validation from, they build you up and put you on a pedestal, but you might not be aware of it because you have all this social support. But when you don't have anyone at all, you rely on yourself for validation, and you throw away the approval of others. You stop caring about the approval of others and their validation, because for one, it's absent, and two, it doesn't matter anymore, because maybe rejection is tied into it, but you don't have that friend group to fall back on to tell you that you're okay, that what you do is acceptable no matter what, right? They'll accept you. You don't have that anymore, so when you're rejected, it's like the most crushing feeling, because you absolutely have no one to fall back on. But if you can endure that and get through that, I find that it makes you unstoppable, because you just don't care anymore about anyone's approval. Like, you stop playing a role in your job, you don't even care about the role. But this is also because I've stopped caring about trying to control the future as well, because I've just done a shite job of that, and I'm also in a position where I don't have to worry about keeping the job. So there are things that tie into that make it where I don't know if I'm in a really shit position whether I do anything to keep that job. And I'd like to hope that I'm not that person, but I have yet to come to that crossroads. But it seems like it's gonna be inevitable, and it's like I'm training for it. I've fallen in love with the idea of trying for that idealized love that I know doesn't exist, but it's like, why not gamble your entire life to find that the impossibility, than settle for what everyone else has. And the way I'm doing it is basically not trying at all. And in my position at the very bottom, if that person doesn't recognize my value at my worst, then they're not it. If they can't do it there, then they're not it at all. And the horrible thing about being in a position where they can tell what you have. I guess you could play, you could put on a show and not show your money at all, but if you have the status and you're still in danger there, but you can see who the real ones are. But my problem is I'm so shallow, and the ones that know they've got it like that aren't settling for struggle in life, and that's what I have found to be true, and what probably most people believe to be true. I'm just on a quest to figure out if it is true. The way I talk to God is through car sounds, believe it or not. My confirmation is through hearing a car. And obviously to anyone else listening that's like, well, that's just, you hear that shit every day. But I've gone to either such a detached reality, or dissociated, I should say, so much that it's become that, and it just can't deny it. Every time I hear it, cannot deny it. Or yeah, that sums it up. I mean, it's like it's a delusion because I can't discount it. I can never doubt it enough to discount it completely. And most recently, the wind that blows on like the trees, that signifies that my dad is present. And I can like look to that as confirmation of what I'm saying. And also birds. When I see a cardinal, a lot of people associate that as well as an angel. I have tactile hallucinations, so I feel someone like touching my feet and even my cock. and it's the angels that are communicating with me at all times, and I'm tested in ways by the angels that have taught me lessons about focus and to read like things will be aggravating, like dealing with it, for instance, but the lesson is a test of patience. So they're just testing me even when I'm like at my most vulnerable, volatile place. I'm being tested to see if I can maintain patience in that that scenario. And I feel like I've gotten quite far in that pursuit, and it's hard to tell what exactly has been communicated at times, but I'm always reassured that they're there with me and that I'm divinely protected in whatever happens. So I can never hit too low of a point anymore. I'm always caught in a net. And I attribute it to being alone for going on 15 years now. So on and off, but like majority of the time spent in isolation. I always was the type to not once like what everyone else has in life. I was never attracted to what I would call like fake people who are just trying to get as much money and power as possible and be super influential and have high status in life. I always try to just live apart from that and go my own way. And it's fucking hard. I don't know what exactly it was that made it so unattractive. Maybe it's because it's mainstream and everybody's doing it and everybody's on the same wheel. And I just didn't want to be on the wheel. I didn't want to do the work to get off the wheel because I witnessed my dad, who was on the wheel his whole life and then always wanted to retire. He saved up all of his sick days to retire early, and then he retired with disability and passed away before even reaching what his goal was in life, which was to retire and write a book. So I think it just kind of reaffirmed it for me that, and then seeing other people just die early, or even like fetuses never making it past in day one. So I never thought time was guaranteed to no one's time is guaranteed at all. So to invest in a future is like, it's just a crazy idea that we get locked into what we see and what we could have, and I feel like that's where a lot of unhappiness comes from, because your actual self in this moment doesn't line up with who you envision being. And I think when you get those two things the same, and the actual being what you want to be in the future, or not having a ideal, then you start to just be here in the present as much as humanly possible, because you're not absorbed in a time in a vision that hasn't happened and may not happen. I didn't have a single goal I've ever set that it turned out to be that in the end. It's only gotten me moving. It's like a driving force to get you moving in life. If you're afraid of everything falling down around you. I think part of the reason I haven't moved and been so motivated for things like that is probably because I've had a comfortable life. I've not had to suffer. I wasn't pushed out as an 18-year-old. I was given a lot of time to make this fucking thing happen, and it might be part of the reason why it didn't. I'm not entirely sure if it was who I am as an individual, or just because I didn't have to struggle. And it's probably the latter. But I don't know. I look at Charles Bukowski, and he just lived a life where he couldn't hold a job for any length of time, but he was like starving in a place that was past due rent. He couldn't afford the rent, and he was just basically kicked out and had to figure it out over and over and over again. And that's just what I looked at it as, and I feel like that's a very real reality that could have happened, but I'll never know, because people don't choose to suffer. You don't choose to suffer in life if you have a choice. That's like my one dream, I suppose, if I could ever become independent in life, just be able to do it. Do that. Do what he's doing, or did, I should say. And be okay with that. I'd be able to do it, but at the same time not care about clinging to the job so much. And I don't know if it's possible. I like to think so, like you could get comfortable with being in a homeless shelter, and then I don't have any children, so it's not like I'm trying to save them. But like going through that cycle, I feel like you could get comfortable doing that. I just feel like there's no template on how a person should live. And I understand what they say in psychology with the milestones, and you should have done this by this stage, and blah blah fucking blah. But I think it's far more interesting if you can pave your own path that's ideal for you, that suits you. And I think the less people you surround yourself with, the more freedom you have to do that. Because you always get outside opinions from people that want you to act and behave in ways that they understand, that they recognize. And if you do anything shocking or dangerous, then, or not well advised, then they freak out and judge the fuck out of you. And if you're not like them, striving for the appearance and followers on social media, and you're not posting like amazing pictures of your life, and I don't know, I'm so detached from what people do now that I guess I see it all the time. How many women you've been with, or who you're with at the moment, and all this shit, all these concepts, and it's all derived from validation, all of it. Everything you are, like if you think of your title of doctor, who is that person if you take that license away? They live in a place of authority. They've from probably an early age, 20s say, when they became the doctor, they now go through their life in a position of authority, and they have no idea what it's like to be totally cast aside by society or feel like absolute scum. Because everyone that walks up to them is treats them with admiration and respect immediately when the doctor arrives. So they're always family, friends, anyone who knows that what they are, they automatically have that, they're automatically given that prestige. Anything they say has gravity with it and authority. And they just don't know what it's like to not have that and be someone who's a lay person who has, they don't have any credentials, but they can't be believed either and respected in the way a doctor can, say. And I find that disgusting in society. That because you were basically born into it, and yeah, I'm going to take away all of the effort you put into that, because I fiercely believe on a soul level that if you didn't have every circumstance available to you and the mind to actually do that in the first place, then you would never have become a doctor. If you were put in any other position in life and you weren't who you are, then you wouldn't have become the doctor in the first place. I think that goes for everyone. I think the reason people are stuck in poverty is because they were born in poverty. Born into shitty circumstances where trauma was just the way of life. So it's strange to me that people are elevated in this society for being born into it, like being born, basically. Like, you may feel like that took a lot of effort to do that and you took a lot on, but if you were any other person you were in any situation other than that, say just plopped you into India and you're a child who fucking makes bricks out of mud, you wouldn't be that. You wouldn't fucking be that, and you'd probably be dead by now. So it's just strange to me in this society that we prop just the doctors up and whoever is good at sales or all that bullshit, and then everyone who can't, like the majority of people who can't make that wage of the 1%, they're just struggling. You're just struggling. So all I'm saying is, I feel like your lot in life has so much to do with the fucking roll of the dice, spin of the fucking roulette wheel, that people who think it was all hard work and you deserve that, you should think again. You should think again and just be very fucking appreciative of your position. But that's not to say that life doesn't balance out and those people don't have problems too. It's just that in this society, if you make a certain amount of money, then and your status, and you're held higher automatically than other people, and that's just shite, because we actually are all equal. It's just shit look of the draw for some and not others. But I don't know, tragedy strikes those as well. I mean, Chris Cornell, Robin Williams, Chester Bennington, they all committed suicide, and they had everything seemingly. So you just never know in life. I mean, even it doesn't seem like money and achieving everything and having fame even helps you in this life. So I just try to practice gratitude, and not strive so much for that stuff, because those are prime examples of how it doesn't do anything for any length of time. It's not like a cure-all to your problems to achieve those things. It's just you're gonna struggle wherever you are, whatever you're doing in life. It's just hard because you're battered with seeing what you like, the glorified life of the rich and famous, and it's just, I don't know, you get the suffering on the news and that helps you. You're like, fuck, at least I'm not in a war, at least I'm not starving as a baby in Africa, Makes me question God, and if God's so powerful and He's written your story, tailor-made it to you, and say we reincarnate as well and we just play out different stories in life because we're bored, right? We're bored in the afterlife, so we've come down just to play it out again because it's the only fun thing to do, to just go through this again and again and again and again, because heaven is like, you take the memory with you, right, of your life, and then maybe heaven's just not cutting it either, and the heaven and hell is actually here, and that's like the place where you, like the train station to go back, and every time someone's born, it's like another soul gets to go again back to earth where the fun is. And maybe some people come down and they know what's going on, right? They've chosen to remember all of the pain in their old life, but they just play it off as normal people, so they don't. I mean, people probably wouldn't believe them anyway if they said they could remember the whole past life and everything, even though there's people out there who claim to have been able to do that. But it's just I guess what I'm saying is I don't think there can be Satan. It's more like God is Satan as well. And because he actually commands Satan apparently to mess with you. Like it's purposeful to make you better, ultimately. And I just think it's more like Total Recall, and you're just playing out this time, and maybe you wanted the suffering, maybe you just wanted to be, I don't know, burnt at the end, but you just signed up for that one, or you just wanted to feel that. You wanted to feel what that would be like because you didn't try it the last time. So that when you actually do die, you take all of the accumulated lives with you, and you have all those memories when your spirit form, and then you go in for another ride to see what else is going on Earth, and then it always changes on Earth too, so. But I don't know, like anything that just sounds like something you can poke holes in and flaws, and I kind of like I have this crazy destiny that this somehow is linked to it, and a miracle's meant to happen, and I have this destined twin flame love, and we're meant to get together in this lifetime, like some point, and that's good right now. I like that one, so I just keep that one. I just can't discount the synchronicities that I see in everyday life now. Everything seems to lead back to something, and is a sign for something else, and it's become really beautiful, but it's really hard to live in reality, like actually operate and function. It's just made it fun, I suppose, but it's too much fun for professional life. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I just stayed in Phoenix. If I'd stayed around, like in that hometown, basically. And even far back as England, like what if I'd just stayed in the same place my entire life? I guess I'm just super afraid of dying, and I'm worried about missing out. Particularly with romantic relationships, just sex. And yeah, the funny part is I'm deathly afraid of having kids, and also because I can't take care of them worth a shit, and they'll be in foster homes and CPS in no time. and I'm afraid of the diseases that come with it, and it just doesn't seem worth it to me. I find a lot of people are very uncomfortable with silence. People seem to need to fill the air, and they can't look at you without saying something. Maybe it's because it's far too intimate, but everyone gets uncomfortable that way. Even I, right now, I'm struggling to just take it easy while making this. I'm dying right now to just allow a lot of dead air, because that would be more natural. And probably would allow it to flow better and actually be authentic. I think I feel quite weak, like unable to struggle as much as other people do. I just can't seem to be able to stay in one place for any length of time. There's like nothing particularly I want to get except like food and a shelter over my head, a computer with internet, and a bed. Like basic stuff. And I struggle to do that, even to do it on my own. You know, there was a time when I could work 60 hours a week, and I had like pensions, and I had it all really, and I was like set for retirement, and it was gonna be good. It was like easy money. It was like taking a long piss all day, to be honest. I could go as slow as I wanted to. This was at the post office. And I was set up for like the best retirement of all time, and I just had to stay there for 30 years. That was it. And I just couldn't fucking do it. I went to Dublin, Ireland, and then I just fell in love with the place, and then I literally just tried to stay there on the vacation and never return. Like, just leave the job I'd left for vacation time, and I had 3 weeks, which is insane. But ended up being like 2 months before I returned, and then they still hadn't fired me, and then it was like another 2 months, and then I finally resigned. That's how good that job was. That's how protected I was. I threw it away because I fell in love with the place, but I couldn't make it happen. It's like I just became... I had intended to come back at the 3-week mark, but I ended up missing every flight that day, and then catching a flight to the wrong airport back, and then I actually became so paranoid in that airport that I couldn't get a hotel room in the adjacent hotel, because I thought everyone was gonna kill me basically, and the whole government was out to get me. And I'd left like Allied territory in Ireland, all my allies, and then I flew to England, and somehow everyone was my enemy, and I had to just escape everyone. And I was on the streets for 6 days straight, just endlessly walking, because somehow I was being tracked, and I couldn't explain why. I threw out my phone, I threw out my luggage, and I threw out my bank cards. I had nothing in the end, and I was walking around the streets of England in a constant chase that I couldn't explain how these people kept following me and why they wanted to get me, but I had to stay awake, and I maybe got like an hour of sleep in a field at one time, just out of exhaustion, and I just had given up at that point. But then when I woke up, had to move again and keep moving. And I couldn't trust police, I couldn't trust hospitals, I couldn't trust anyone to help me, and I couldn't call home because I thought they were tracking, they would track my family down and, terminate them as well. So I maybe like ate some really manky chicken that probably should have given me parasites if it didn't already, and I was out of a trash can, and someone gave me money for groceries one day. I think I managed to eat a lunch out of it, and then that was it. That was the only 2 times I ate, and the rest I was drinking water from puddles with a feather, because I couldn't go into a place without feeling like I would just be trapped in the bathroom if I spent too long. I lost my shoes and I was hobbling down the road with a 2-foot stick with bare feet, and they'd ballooned up to the size of melons, and on a really frosty morning on the 6th day, I thought they were gonna fall off basically, and I had been given like a sign from God, like a trash bag had been left out next to the trash can, but it had all these supplies that you would need for the coming morning. And it was crazy. I had like a cut plastic raincoat, and it had like foam plates and just like enough to make a bed, but it was made in a certain way to fit like a bed. And then also like a bamboo like something you'd use to make a fire with, and like flint and tinder, but it was the tinder part. It was a bamboo shoot, and I was trying to survive that morning, basically trying to put grass on my toes so that they wouldn't freeze off. And I was in the middle of a park where I could see who was coming, so I was trying to basically sleep in that moment. I think I had another part of just so exhausted from walking, and I was trying to blow on the grass with my hands and just keep reapplying the warmth to my toes so they wouldn't freeze off. And then I caved in and I rushed as quick as I could, when you're like crippled basically, into the road, and just held my hands out and tried to get any car to stop. And none of the cars did, but a pedestrian walking by, who I identified as like the enemy chasing me the whole time, offered to help. And obviously I thought, well, this is the end. So I accepted anyway and thought, well, I'm done for if I don't. So he actually took me to McDonald's and then took me to the hospital and got me in touch with my mom. And she got in touch with my sister in England, and then they booked a taxi for me to get over to her. And I still, at that point, didn't trust the nurses in there. I didn't trust the taxi driver taking me to her house. So, at the hospital, I was in the waiting room, and I'd refused treatment because I went back there and I thought, if I go back there again, I'm gonna be dealt with like permanently. So I waited in the waiting room hoping that they'd send help that day, and no help arrived. And the nurses and doctors ordered the security to actually take me forcefully into the back, because they thought I was a threat to my own well-being because I refused treatment for my obvious feet that were way out of control. But at the time I was saying, I don't consent to this, to the entire waiting room. I don't consent. And they took me into the back, put me in like a hospital bed, and I was strapped in to the hospital bed, and they did an IV and of antibiotics, and probably an IV of like the banana IV, and I thought they were gonna harvest my organs at that point, so luckily they didn't. I spent the night there and was evaluated like probably 4 times on that whole trip, that whole 6 days, from different doctors at different points, at different locations, and they all let me go. And then I made it to hers, and I was okay, and everything died down. And then I tried to go back to Dublin and make a life, and then it just didn't work because I was like living out of hostels, and I had no real means of making it. I had no job lined up or anything. The only way it was gonna work is if I was like homeless and got a job somehow. So I ended up failing, and I came back to home, Ohio, which I hoped I'd never come back to, and it was like I'd just came back to hell, and like I didn't fit into this life anymore. And I had to quickly adapt back, and then I developed the tactile hallucinations like immediately, and delusions that sent me on a crazy adventure here, which at one point I thought everyone in the world could hear my thoughts and every word that came out of my mouth, so I had to silence the thoughts and the words just to survive, because people couldn't sleep around the world. And that went on for probably like that part 1 month, but the whole thing didn't really level out for like 4 months, and I was unable to really communicate. I was having conversations with myself in the company of others, so it was like I was having 2 conversations at the same time, because I was trying to communicate with whoever was communicating with me at the time. And I've had to throw that one away, learn to, because it was too heavy. It was like being Atlas and you have the world on your shoulders. I couldn't walk in a grocery store without thinking everyone knew who I was. Everything about me, every single thing, no secrets. So eventually I managed to get through that. Just leveled out, like got easier and easier with time and exposure. I still feel like I'm in communication at times with maybe perhaps like a soulmate on this earth I haven't met yet, or it goes back and forth, or it's like the divine and it's angels at this point. And you'd probably not really know that any of this had happened to me if you spoke to me. I look at it like it's who I'm supposed to be. Like epigenetics activated that strand of DNA, and it's exactly as intended, like a defense mechanism to cope with extreme stress. And a lot of people look at it like an illness because they don't understand it, for one, and then two, you don't function like everyone else does, because part of it for me is I've realized that the pace I go at now is actually how I should be living. Everyone looks at productivity as your main currency in life, and that's a really sad thing, because then you automatically, if you're disabled in any way or old, then you're less valuable than the rest of everyone else, every other demographic. So it's horseshit, and I think being able to go at your pace, your own rhythm, your own biorhythm in life is actually intended, and the only thing that's convincing you that it's not is literally people in power and the way society is at the moment, and they're not accommodating for every walk of life, which are all different. So it's not like you're disabled, it's just people need you to operate on a certain level to accept who you are, and that's disgusting. So I look at it as the pace I'm meant to be at, and also a gift from my bloodline that's activated at this time in my life to handle anything. It's made it far more beautiful to slow down so much that you move slower than like a 67-year-old, say. And it shows you an appreciation of life that you wouldn't have because you're so busy getting to the next thing that you don't even stop to see what's happening right now. And it's given me an appreciation of the functionality that I still possess, because I know how much I've lost. And the fact that I won't be able to see one day, hear, feel anything at all. So it's made it to where you're intimate with death all the time. It's your constant focus, and you live that way because you learn that you're not in control of your life. If I was in control of it, I'd still be able to operate like I used to. And people don't understand why you can't. But until you're forced to slow down because of things out of your control, you won't understand. And unfortunately, that's the main line of thought, is that, well, if you just come at it at another angle, or you just fight harder, that you'll be able to do it. But from my experience, that used to work, but it's gotten to a place of that's actually not in the cards anymore, and it's more about finding people who do accommodate and do accept you for who you are. And I think if you have that in life, really, people who accept every part of you without you having to compromise in the least, then you've made it. You've got like a good place in life, and maybe it won't last forever, but at least for that time you've got something there, like all I could dream of. It really has steered me down that path, though, of total disregard for my appearance and how I come over to people, because it's something I can't control anymore, and I've realized it takes far too much effort to do yourself up every day for other people and their approval. So my goal is to find that where it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because you're holding on to something that's falling through your fingers anyway, so why not just accept it now and then attract the people who actually like you for what you actually are, instead of the people who only like you when you're doing this, or you're this way, or you're like that, you know? If they don't deserve you at your best, if they can't stand you at your worst, right? If they don't love you at your worst. I don't mean stand, because you're always enough. You're never too much, and you're never too little in life. You're enough as you are. And that's something that, unfortunately, in this society is not. It's something a doctor might be able to have, but when you're not in that status, then you're either too much or too little, you know? You have to, squeeze into whatever they fit you into, and it makes me sick, and I don't want to play that game anymore. If I was a doctor, I'd rather I was like, I don't know, squeezing my tit at people as I walked in the room, and not so scared to lose that title. But I understand, because it took a lot to get to that, and then you also are so in love with the lifestyle that you can't you can't even budge even in any direction there. It's just you operate there in that professional mask, and that's all you can do. I would prefer if you went to work, but it was like an extension of home. That would be ideal, and you treated your work life and the tasks loosely, like you loosely did the work in a way that you enjoyed and wasn't so pressurized, and it was in your time, and they sent help and they got more employees in, right? If you can handle it in your pace and your speed, and if you need a conversation with someone, you should be able to fucking do that without limit, because people don't want to talk to each other forever, but you should be able to do that without feeling like eyes upon you. So it's real life. I mean, if you're gonna be in a place for 8 hours of your day every day, most of your life, shouldn't it just reflect that, like regular living, not a slave where you put on chains? Because they're giving you money for what is invaluable, is priceless. They're taking away your priceless time that they could never put a fucking price tag on, for in exchange, like they're already doing that, and then they expect you to behave a certain way. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't compute. You're already stealing from me. You're already stealing the most precious thing I have, which is time, and you're not giving me enough money no matter what the fucking occupation is. And I don't care what people say about finding work that you love, because everyone changes for one, and holy fuck, who are these people? Who are these people? And then maybe not all of us can do that, by the way, and we've fucking looked. I understand that we do it in exchange to live, like have things like food and shelter and all that, like goods that we need, right? That someone else put their time and effort in, and there's incentive to that and everything. But we're not making enough money to live comfortably, most of us. So it just doesn't add up. You should, at the baseline, whatever job you want to do, it's all the same. It's all the same. You're all putting in the same time. That's the only thing that's a constant. The only other thing is preference and ability, and that's bullshit because that's all variable. So the only thing we should really be doing is getting paid enough for what the job we can do. And if you're getting more, then you should feel really lucky that you're able to do that. And I actually don't know if I agree that you should get that much for it, but then that's incentive, isn't it? I mean, you probably wouldn't do it otherwise. But I don't know. You might want to be a doctor. You might want to help people without actually getting tons of money for it. I mean, this is coming from someone who can't, so, take it as you will. Or at least doesn't want to, I should say. I seem to be in a place where I'm just biding my time. I don't really have a direction, and I don't have any long-term goals. So I just live here in the present, and nothing seems to really get me going except messages from God. At least what I interpret to be and hope to be. I'm in a search for my people, my soul family, my soul tribe. I would hope that I could actually be friends with them in person, which would be unusual, and that would be the point, because they would be my soul family. Yeah, I would like to stop being so isolated for once, and also find a place where I'm accepted in life. Not judged by my productivity, but by the person that I bring to the business. And I think if I can get that, then I don't need anything else. it would be nice to live a lavish lifestyle, but I feel so incapable of that, and it's more like an actual miracle at this point if that ever happened. What I would say to people with schizophrenia is that, or psychiatrists, instead of prescribing medication that doesn't really work for the long term and gives the people worse side effects, just look at any of them. Any of them are terrible. It might even be worse than the actual illness itself. And also the benefits of the antipsychotics are only mild for the cognitive end of it. Mild. And also I've heard that some people don't even benefit off of them at all. There's no benefit, and that's like 30%, I think, who take the medication and take the risk, roll the dice. And also I've heard that it shouldn't be taken long term and can be damaging in that way too. So I'm guessing it's because of the reliance on the drug for whatever is being produced or re-inhibited or an reuptake inhibitor. I can't remember exactly whatever its action on the brain is. The brain becomes dependent on that. So if you don't wean off, there's a problem too. If you're not keeping up with the schedule. So what I would say is that it's a gift, and it's only looked at as a curse by other people around you. To me, if I heard voices, it would be from angels at this point. It doesn't start that way, but you learn to handle it and probably reframe it into more of like testing, like testing your temperament and your patience. And it could be all negative stuff, but then you come in with reassuring reaffirmations, positive feedback yourself. You learn to rely on yourself to be your best friend and able to cope no matter what anyone says to you. And when you learn to also focus on what's going on in reality, when the voices are going on as well, and be able to have conversations, maybe albeit at a slower pace, but when you learn to not give a shit about what other people think and focus on the conversation as well, while that's happening, it all works together, and it works for the new you that you are, and the only people to catch up is society. Society is the only one who hasn't caught up yet. It just takes time and a lot of support from family, but I think it's important to recognize that your family might miss the old version of you and wish you were that. And sometimes it means separation from those people as well. So it can help you figure out who is actually supportive around you of whoever you are at any time. And that's love. That's love, when they are supportive of your decisions and who you've become, because it's not curable, it's just manageable, and I think it's manageable without medication, and I think the science is moving away from medication to diet and healthy lifestyle that everyone lives. And I think it just takes more understanding that everyone's not on your pace in life, and nor should they be. And we should be accommodating for that in business as well. And not sectioning off disabled people into certain areas that they can operate the best in, because that's also another form of discrimination and segregation. I might consider doing a live stream. I kind of wish I didn't broadcast that, but I might do that. Sometimes I wonder if I'd had children, if I would have been a dad who was like in a job and really trying to make something, and I kind of envy dads that are in that. I don't know how hard it is for 1 second, but I've also realized how much freedom I've been able to have and focus on myself and exhausting everything I've wanted to do alone. But I feel like there's motivation that comes when your life is no longer yours and it's someone else's, and you're responsible for them. There's like a drive there that I don't possess. And sometimes I wonder who I would have been if I had that. Alright, I'm gonna go eat. I don't drink anymore, and I don't smoke weed anymore, and mainly I don't drink because it's too depressing now, alone, and same with weed. And I also don't do those things out at the bar anymore, which was fun. I used to get stupid at the bar, and I miss that. But at the same time, when you're this out of control in your mind, it's scary to go further than that. And I think part of the reason I'm here is because of those things. So it's like such a risk now that I kind of feel barred from doing it. It's good to get this stuff off my chest and actually share it with share who I am with the world. I think even those closest to me don't really know who I am without the like this, in my own space. It's not exactly because of the camera, but it's not too far off. It's just I know that I'm speaking to people now, possibly. So in a sense, I didn't really want to lose that freedom, because I just like streaming a video game, I didn't want it to be a job, and I really enjoyed philosophizing life by myself. But maybe this is just the next phase of that. Maybe it just doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. Yeah, thank you for listening and getting to know me, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to be 100%, but it's can I not keep a secret? It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know what that does. if you put it all out there completely. mm. I almost feel like I have to do it now. Every secret. God. I don't think I have the courage. You give me the courage, God. Fuck. Some stuff. My God, I don't know if I can do it. Just speak the truth. Speak it. Speak the truth. You wanna be real? You wanna be real, real? Real, real? Jesus Christ Almighty, save me. That's such a level of vulnerability. Can you do it? Fuck. Mm. This goes against not caring at all. I can't do it. I think some things just shouldn't be said. I'm sorry. Or maybe I just figured out there might actually be a limit. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, I think I have to. Yes, yeah. I have to safeguard this one. It's not letting me do it. Something inside has closed the door and it won't let it open. And I think I've been told recently through a message that it was better to stay silent. Because there's a lot of evil in this world. And unfortunately, they want nothing better than to see you fail and fall to the depths. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I couldn't be 100%. And that I feel is a reflection of the world. Is that unfortunately you have to be careful with what you say. And I try to push it. I shouldn't have even said probably a lot of my story about being on the streets, but I think that's okay. Yeah. Bit of a downer, that one. It's gonna have to be, I think. Alright. Get some food. And maybe next time. Probably not. I don't know. Probably not. part of it. I think it's not caring that you couldn't be as well. That might be like people who wear masks all day. Maybe they just don't care that they're wearing the mask.